I am so glad that you are all here. This is a time of traditions, and I'm glad that you have made St. Clair's part of your tradition this year. And I have been thinking about traditions a lot. We have 4 kids, and 3 live out of state, either in college or are just starting in the workforce. And so we're down to only having our youngest in the house. And my wife, Myra, has become a first-class travel agent, trying to figure out how to get everyone home for today and the holidays, and then to get us all out to the bowl game where one of our sons will play football, and then get us all back here to North Bend, and then everybody back to their respective homes. So now that all the kids are not living with us, we're having to really decide which traditions we will cram into our limited time together and which we'll have to let go. So some of the traditions, like matching pajamas, are super easy to keep. I have found that a little more difficult was decorating the tree and setting out all of the ornaments. So what we did this year is we got everybody on FaceTime and set up the phones so that they could then tell us, where to hang which ornaments, or which ornaments we were not allowed to hang. Don't hang that stitch, that's mine. So we had a bunch of ornaments sitting out for them to hang when they got home. And it was a lot of fun, but I have to say they weren't super helpful untangling that tangled mess of lights, But one tradition that I find particularly meaningful is putting out all the ornaments and all of the decorations that came from my mom's house. So my mom passed away in 2017, and she loved Christmas. She loved it. She lived in a relatively small house, but she had a pretty big tree. And every year she'd pull out all of the ornaments and tell the same stories, right? She would say, Aunt Helen made this ornament, and then she'd hang it on the tree. And she'd pull out one and say, this was from our trip to Yellowstone, and would hang it on the tree. And the stories continued in that fashion until all of the ornaments were hung. And now I tell those same stories to my kids as I hang the ornaments and put out the decorations. And one of my favorite decorations is this old wooden nativity set from my childhood. It is, all the pieces are about this big, they're carved. As a child, I would make the camels, trek across the whole living room, until they could get to baby Jesus with Mary and with Joseph. And they're cute little sheep, about this big, and then all the wise men are there. And every year, I would arrange this whole set with fondness. And this year, I pulled out each of the pieces and put them on our mantle. The camels, they're in this, perfectly straight line, even though the chains that would connect their necks, to the tail is broken and hanging. They're still in this perfectly straight line. And I've got the sheep that are all gathered around the creche so that they can see. The wise men are there with their gifts, and Mary and Joseph are kneeling right around that little wooden bed. There is one problem. We have lost the baby Jesus. And I have looked everywhere, and that baby Jesus isn't anywhere. So we have this wonderfully wood-carved nativity from my childhood set up with no Jesus. And I've kept the nativity up, and I just said, we all know that Jesus is here. And I'm not sure that's the perfect response, but it is definitely the one that I am going with. And if Alexa is listening to me at the house, she might think I'm a really good priest, because I keep saying, "Where is Jesus?" She has not answered, which I'm also glad for. It sounds very spiritual, but really I'm just looking for this wooden piece of our nativity set. It does occur to me that my empty nativity is the right question for all of us. Where is Jesus? Not just in my nativity set, but in life, in the choices that we make and the love that we give and the hope that we hold on to. Christmas invites us to stop searching for perfection and to see the beauty of what is already here, to rediscover the presence of Christ in the midst of our messy, tangled lights and our imperfect traditions and in our complicated lives. The question isn't just, where is Jesus? But also, what does it all mean? Do we understand the simple message that Jesus brings to us? Or are we overwhelmed by the seeming complexity of God or the complexity of our world, that we have forgotten the ultimate simplicity of what is needed, of what is given, and what is required of us in this life? And that's simply to know that we are loved by God and to share that love with all those who are around us. The great thing about the tradition of coming to church at Christmas is that it is an opportunity for us to stop and rediscover our truest selves. We are made in the image of God, who now bears our image. We are called only to love, called to sustain one another, to sustain the earth as He sustains us. This Christmas Eve, may we come to see that Christ is not born this night to save us from our humanity, nor to deliver us from the world that He has made, but to inhabit these things fully and to love them fully, that we might gather alongside all creatures to behold the majesty of God. And in this sacred moment, we will join our voices with the songs of angels and the bray of the donkey and the bellow of the ox, a chorus of unceasing praise. And tonight, may the whole world at last know its master, know its Lord's manger, and thereby know itself for what it is, beloved, sustained, and redeemed. The nativity scene, it's here in our midst. Our Savior awaits. Come, let us adore Him.